Marth versus Puff. What do I think if they're both playing well? For Marth versus Puff, I think Battlefield. I don't know what to think about Battlefield if I'm being honest. I feel like this, and then FD. It's this. It feels like this. Dreamland feels like this. And Fountain feels like this. And then Stadium feels like this. So the rationales I'm giving is that overall, I do think Marth has a slight edge over Puff. But the thing about Puff is that she gets so much chances, dude. Like, if I'm not hitting pivots, this matchup feels like, and I'm not being proactive with juggles, and the Puff is hitting all the rests. This matchup is kind of a pain. But if the Marth's able to proactively wall that out, he's able to get the kills, he's able to pivot well, he's able to juggle well. It's less of a grind. Battlefield, I like it because it gives me more room to dash around. And FD, I don't have any platforms to worry about when Puff is, trying to weave all around me. She no longer gets platforms. It makes juggles and positioning a lot easier. Yoshi's, I put it around the same as Battlefield because while I kill Puff earlier, it doesn't really change like the pivot S match. Like across all stages, I need to be at 70% to kill. Like, yeah, there's some spots where like it'll kill a little earlier, but it's really independent of stage. Puff can also just kill me a lot earlier, and her side platform approaches are a lot more threatening. But overall, I still give Marth the edge because of while there's less room, I do get a little bit more kill power. Dreamland feels really bad if I'm not killing. Like there's a reason why HBox had like a 92 record on Zane because you get so many chances as Puff, and even though like there's a lot of room, you can still be juggling. If you miss like one, even if you're playing well, like you could still like lose mix-ups because Puff has a lot of jumps, and Puff gets that one hit, gets a good edge guard in, maybe even gets a rest, and you can't kill Puff because it's Dreamland. Oh, this stage feels bad. As for Fountain, I do think it's slight Puff favored because the platforms usually does not help Marth. It usually gets in Marth's way rather than helping Marth. Like there's like few random spots where yeah, I guess I could get good tipper kills there, but there's so few and far in between. Whereas like I don't get the kill edge like I do in Yoshi's. It's a lot more scrap based. I don't like scrapping versus Puff. And the platform hides help Puff a lot more often than it does from Marth. Stadium, if it's transformation, it feels more like this. But if there's no transformation, I do give it a small edge because the side platform again, it gives Puff so much more leeway in neutral that I do think it's worse than FD. But at the same time, I could still get my kills well, and I could juggling. More room is never bad, and at least there's no top platform. The top platform actually makes it better than Battlefield. I guess I'll put it here in between Battlefield and FD, even though I feel dirty putting that there. But those are my thoughts on Marth versus Puff on Stadium. As for if we're both not playing well, if Marth is not playing well and Puff is not playing well, Marth loses pivots. Kevin, thank you so much for the gifted. Okay, so Marth loses pivots, which is a game changer. Like Puff, her spacing might not be as well. They might be more reticent about going for rests. Spacing might be off. They might not recover as well, but they still get a lot of leeway. Whereas Marth, when he loses pivots, his juggles are not as good, his spacing not be as good, he gets knocked down more often. I think Marth just straight up loses the matchup if they're both not playing well. Like Battlefield feels like this. FD only feels like this. Yoshi becomes a little better actually, but Dreamland feels like this. Battle feels worse. Stadium is fine. If the Marth is not, as I said, based on what both characters lose in terms of their toolkit, if Marth can't kill Puff, it's so painful because Battlefield is a big stage. I can't pivot kill. I can't juggle well. The platforms are such a pain in the ass because like even if Puff's not playing well, they always have the platforms as a security. They lose that security in FD, which is why I feel like even if I'm not killing well, like it's still a very favored stage. And then for Yoshi's, the issue of not killing well is okay because like I could kill in this stage because it's so much closer. Even though Puff still has security with the platforms, I could still like they're not playing as well. I could find openings regardless. Like bad Marths could still beat even good Puffs because they could find kills they would find in Yoshi's that they wouldn't find on any other stage. But in Dreamland, if you can't kill, Dreamland's an auto lose. If you can't engage well, Dreamland's an auto lose because you can't. If you don't have any answers on engaging them on platforms, oh, this stage just feels so bad. I can't talk more about this stage. I remember as a bad player, I've always thought Dreamland was an auto loss, and it showed in my results when I was bad, really, really bad in this matchup. Fountain, similar reasoning. Like you're still like scrapping a lot. Puff gets chances in side platforms. You don't get the same kill powers as you do in Yoshi's, so it kind of just bops it down. I don't know if it's as worse than Battlefield. Actually, I'll probably adjust it like this. Scrapping is probably a little bit more kills you'll find as Marth, but and then Stadium, if it's transformations, it feels more like this or even this, but no transformation. It's kind of like FD. Sometimes the side platforms you can find kill opportunities with that if they somehow get a knockdown there, but actually I think it's a little worse than FD, but because they get security from side platforms, but yeah, this is assuming that both players are playing bad, Kelly, because what I described, because if both characters are playing bad, Marth loses pivots, they get worse at juggling and positioning, whereas Puff, they're less likely to rest, their spacing's a little bit more off, they're less likely to kill, and I find that what Marth loses really affects Dreamland. But like like Puff is still playable on even if they're playing bad, they can still play in Yoshi's. Whereas like I find that Marth can't play in Dreamland. The thing about that, like if you're playing bad as Marth, is even though if Puff finds it hard to find, if Puff finds it hard to approach Marth in center, a lot of times the Marth will get provoked to approach anyways, or Puff could just stall out the other Marth. Like I've seen Puffs stall out, patient Marth players like Marth to a timeout. It feels bad if the Marth's playing really bad. But if Marth's playing well, again, I do think Marth is favored. So that's my overall take after a little bit of discussion. And I think this is just like, I think I speak for every Marth that like if you're playing bad as Marth, it feels like, I think this is like an accurate representation.